Who did I find it most difficult to work with? Animators. Definitely animators.
Welcome to the many interpretations of Utahraptor, the largest dromaeosaurid to ever exist, of course, that we currently know of. There are some other contenders, but as it currently stands, Utahraptor is the largest confirmed dromaeosaurid. We have quite a few media depictions to look at. These designs are really cool, ranging, like going in a whole bunch of different directions, and a lot of them are like really unique, a lot of them just look really interesting, and a lot of them I just love with all of my heart. So I'm really excited to get into this. So let's get into it. We will start off with dinosaurs on Earth, then and now. And this starts off the first trend that we'll see with Utahraptor, and that is lack of feathers. Of course, when it comes to the family of dromaeosaurids, which is the exact same family that Utahraptor belongs to, we have found so many feathers on many different kinds of dromaeosaurids that by this point, if you belong to this family, it's really unlikely that you would have been featherless. That extends to Utahraptor. I mean, the extent of the feathers might be a little bit of a debate, but we could say with confidence that they did have feathers, due to phylogenetic bracketing and all of that good stuff. So, when we see naked raptors like this, that is, of course, unlikely. Though, the colors do look pretty cool. I will definitely say that. After that, we have walking with dinosaurs. This is a design. So I will start off with some of the positives. The positives are that I think that the animation is really good, and I really like the practical effect that they have. This kind of puppet, especially when it's kind of staring at you like this, kind of like, that's cool. That's cool. The colors are also really, really awesome, and I think that they're iconic. I think the colors are iconic. So much so that when I see paleoart depicting Utahraptor with this color scheme, I just look at that and I say, that's awesome, that's my childhood. But of course, this guy is portrayed as being very, very thin and agile, which certainly matched up to the common idea of a raptor at the time. By the way, when I say raptor, I'm simply just referring to the dromaeosaurid family, even though they're not technically like the type of raptors that we perceive today, like birds of prey and whatnot. That's what I'm just referring to. It's just an easier way of saying that instead of just saying dromaeosaur or something like that. Or I could just say Utahraptor. But anyway, this was a very common idea for the raptors, and that's mainly because of Jurassic Park and all that after they popularized that. Utahraptor in particular was incredibly bulky and just a robust animal. It doesn't seem that it had the proper skeletal build to be swift and speedy. It seems likely that it was a relatively slow animal, and because of that, it seems that its hunting strategy would have likely been ambush predation. It would get close to its prey and kind of just jump out and just eat it that way. It can also use its giant claws to pin the animal. Another thing is, of course, Utahraptor is portrayed being in Europe in this documentary, when in reality we only have evidence for Utahraptor in North America. It was found in Utah, if you couldn't tell. Utah thief. Look at this paleoart, though. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? I love that.
Chase this dinosaur, chase that dinosaur. You'd swear we couldn't act.
Next up is Primeval. This guy shows up in, I believe, New World. And it looks a lot like the Jurassic Park Velociraptor. And I'll mention a little bit more about the Jurassic Park Velociraptors when we get to the Jurassic Park portion. But right now you'll see that a lot of dromaeosaurs that show up in media do have that Velociraptor look to them. I mean, the Jurassic Park Velociraptor look to them. This guy certainly looks like that, just with some added sparse feathers, which I do definitely appreciate the feathers. I do like the texturing and just the overall quality of the CGI and the massive toe claw, which of course is very important. Utahraptor did have that. The bone core of the toe claw was around 9 inches long, which that's just the bone core. It would have been layered in keratin too, so that claw would have been longer in life. Truly terrifying and awesome animal. It also fights a pterosaur at one point. That was pretty cool. After that, we have Dinosaur King. Sure. Really striking colors. You have some complementary colors going on, the purple and the yellow. The skull shape looks different. It's a lot more blunt and rounded, when Utahraptor had a little bit more of a slim and elongated snout. The neck is also extremely skinny, and it's very different. This is one of the most different raptor designs that I've ever seen. I do like the little addition of the small feathers kind of going off the back of the head, but in terms of feathers, that's pretty much the extent of it. You don't get much feathers on this guy. It's also very shrink wrapped in true Dinosaur King fashion. Gotta love that style. And then we have the Land Before Time. These fellas right here look pretty cool. They are, of course, still featherless. We still have yet to see a full feathered Utahraptor. It's just crazy. But they look good. You know, they fit that Land Before Time style. I do really like the Land Before Time style. That is mainly because I grew up with this movie series. So I think it is really cool to see that. I think that they capture the whole identity of Utahraptor, aside from the fact that they have 2 claws on their hands. How dare they? They had 3, not 2. What is this malarkey? But I think it's good. The color differences are pretty good. You know, it's just extremely stylized, and I think it looks cool. Beast Boy also transforms into a Utahraptor from Teen Titans. Looks really cool. Again, very stylized. He has 3 fingers. Very nice. His second toe is massive, as it should be, and I like the sparse feathers on its back. It seems that that's pretty much the extent that we're getting so far in terms of feathers. There's also these red guys right here, and it looks like the evil Beast Boy also turns into a Utahraptor. I need to finish the show. I started watching it last year with my wife, and we just never got around to finishing it. We really need to do that, because there's just a lot of dinosaur transformations happening, and I need to see that. No, really cool, really stylized, really like them. Dinosaur King has this fella right here. Pretty cool purple coloration, but what I really think stands out the most are those patterns. Probably one of the most unique set of patterns that we've seen on any of these guys so far. And, you know, the rest is pretty standard for most of these depictions. It's pretty shrink-wrapped, featherless, and all that good stuff. But, you know, pretty large and has the whole basic raptor design. So, you know, pretty cool. Jurassic Fight Club, still incredibly featherless. By this point, we should know that, yeah, dromaeosaurs had feathers. So pretty much inexcusable, okay? And the head shape is also just a lot more rounded. Very thin build. Reminds me a lot of Jurassic Park Velociraptors again, or the Deinonychus in the very same show. It is portrayed hunting a Gastonia, which they did live with those ankylosaurs, so that's cool. And the colors are, I like the colors. They're a little bit more reddish. I wonder if that's a reference to Raptor Red by Robert Backer. That'd be cool. Don't know if it is, though. But yeah, no, this is, you know, the colors are cool. Just the whole rest of the design is not that cool. Yeah, you know, let's move on. Dinosaur Revolution finally introduces feathered Utahraptors, and they look pretty cool. There's some variation, especially in the colors. Look how cool they are with those spotted colors. The texturing of the feathers looks really good, and you have this one, who, of course, is historically accurate. As in, it looks like he has a Civil War beard. That is something. That is really unique, and I love them for it. You know, I love them for that little unique flair. They are also portrayed as being pack hunters, and this is where I'll mention that. There's technically no sound evidence for pack predation in dromaeosaurs. I know that they're often portrayed like that, but we don't necessarily have any evidence for it. Of course, there has been a kind of like a sandy block that's filled with Utahraptor. Supposedly, they're all Utahraptor specimens, and that could possibly used as evidence for what am I saying? That could possibly be used for pack predation, or pack hunting, rather. Though it is tricky for something like that, because it seems like they were trapped in quicksand. There is also an iguanodontian present in there, so it's possible that just that iguanodontian got stuck in the quicksand, and then its cries of distress called other Utahraptors to the scene, and then they got trapped. It could just be an example of a predator trap. So we can't say for sure if that is an example of pack hunting in dromaeosaurs or in Utahraptor. Because, I mean, pack hunting is already rare today, and even more rare in reptiles. Like, we don't see many birds or many other reptiles doing that. We do see, like, Komodo dragons partake in mob behavior, where they all kind of just gang up on a single prey item, but we don't really see any coordinated pack hunting, which is mainly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coordinated pack hunting, which is what you mainly see portrayed in media. Just, we don't really have any solid evidence for that. I'll go ahead and move on to, this is from JoJo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I believe. I am not familiar with this one. I just know that this commenter right here was hoping that it would be included, and so I Googled it to see what it looks like, and it looks like this. I assume anyway. I hope I have the correct thing. This is really, really, really unique. I love the blues, and I love the whole shape of it. It's incredibly stylized, and yeah, no, I think it looks pretty cool. Not really too much else I can add to it. Again, I'm not familiar with this project, so I can't really say too much, but I think that's really cool. I also like these little They look like tiny little quills on the top of the animal's head. That's very different. I mean, the way that they're set up is very different. We've seen those type of feathers on Utahraptor's heads, or on the Utahraptor heads already, but they look different here structurally. Love the blues though. Blue's a pretty cool color. And then finally, we'll get to the Jurassic franchise. Now, someone mentioned that in Trespasser, there is a massive red raptor. It's just called a Velociraptor on here, like on the wiki and all that good stuff. But I figured I'd include it anyway because apparently a lot of folks like to consider it a Utahraptor. So here it is. Love the colors. Black and red always looks cool together. Looks awesome. And then we'll get into more of the Jurassic franchise. And this is where I mentioned the Jurassic Park Velociraptors. They are not Utahraptors. I know that many folks believe that they were simply because of their size, and that does make sense because the Utahraptor in real life is a lot closer in size to the Velociraptors in the movies. However, they cannot possibly be the Utahraptor because the Utahraptor wasn't officially described until a week after the movie was released. So it can't be the inspiration for the Jurassic Park Velociraptors. No, in reality, the Jurassic Park Velociraptors were based off of Deinonychus. And there's a whole history for that. The main reason kind of boils down to Gregory S. Paul, who believed that Velociraptor and Deinonychus belonged to the same genus. They were simply just different species of the same genus. That being of Velociraptor, because Velociraptor was discovered first. And due to taxonomic rules, when you combined animals into the same genus, you would resort to the first one named. So that would change Deinonychus anteropus into Velociraptor anteropus. Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, liked this idea, and so he applied it to his book. He also thought that the name Velociraptor just sounded a lot better. It was a lot more streamlined. And, of course, this is something that extends to the Jurassic Park movie. Of course, when they're digging up the raptor skeleton at the beginning of the movie, it takes place in Montana, which is somewhere that Deinonychus lived. It's not somewhere that Velociraptor lived. Velociraptor lived in Mongolia. So, technically the Jurassic Park raptors are not Velociraptor, and they're also not Utahraptor. They're basically just a scaled-up Deinonychus, and featherless. Moving on from that, we have Jurassic Park 3, Park Builder, and we have this guy, of course, in the image form. Actually reminds me a lot more of Velociraptor, as in, like, look how thin that snout is, and just look how thin the build is. Different, very different. Not much else I can say other than the fact that it's pretty different. Next up, we have Jurassic Park Builder. Looks like this. That's pretty cool. I like the fact that we do have feathers included with this guy. I love the baby form. The baby form just looks adorable. You level it up and you get these awesome looking colors right here. And yeah, no, again, I've said it before, but I still do miss Jurassic Park Builder. And then in Jurassic World, the game, this one is certainly a sight for sore eyes. I only have the maxed out ones. I only have 2 maxed out ones at level 40. But here's an image of what it looks like before it's maxed out. It's a lot more, of course, just plain and everything. This one, once you get it maxed out, they just went crazy with the feathers and the bright colors and everything. It's just so unique. I mean, imagine if this is what Utahraptor actually looked like in the wild. Could have been. Who knows? I mean, possibly. I don't know how beneficial it would be for such a big animal like that. That wasn't necessarily tropical, but this would have been interesting to see. I think they had a lot of fun with it. I think they just took the concept of feathers and just were like, let's just throw as many feathers as we can. Let's give it a huge, what looks like a spike on its head, but it's just feathers, and let's kind of do it sparsely on its arms too. Other than that, the skull is a little bit too blunt, I think, and it's a little bit thin. They were pretty bulky animals. This one is just different. He just likes to be different. He's a different kind of Utahraptor. You gotta love it. You gotta love how much fun that they had with it, I'm sure. Next up is Jurassic World Alive. We have this looking fella right here. The feathers, I think, are pretty good for the most part. Its hands are, of course, breaking, and those feathers on the arms stop right before the hands, when in reality they would have been covering pretty much the whole hand, basically. I do like the look of the skull. It might be a little bit too thin, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it looks pretty good. The colors, I think, are pretty cool. They're a little bit more muted on the body, but you have this nice kind of almost like a beak, what looks like it's kind of colored like a beak on the animal's snout, which I think is very cool. Kind of stands out a little bit. It's, of course, got the deadly toe claw on its second toe, kind of tapping the floor in that classic Jurassic Park Velociraptor way, although now it's done on a Utahraptor. But yeah, this one's not my favorite, of course, but I do think that there is a lot of merit to this design. I think that they still did a pretty good job, especially at differentiating it from the rest of the dromaeosaurs in the game. Next up is Jurassic World Primal Ops. This is the first time I'm ever seeing this, and look how cool that looks. I mean, the feathers stop a little bit too early. If we're talking about accuracy right there, the feathers would likely go all the way up into, like, cover the face, basically, and go all the way up to the snout. At least supposedly. Of course, we don't know the exact orientation, but that seems the most likely for the animals. The feathers also stop right before the animal's hand. They would have been covering the full hand. But the colors and everything else looks pretty cool. Even though, now that I'm really looking at it, it does kind of seem like it's just the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, just with feathers on it, which is... I mean, okay, fair enough, I guess. But yeah, no. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with this one. This is the Jurassic World Evolution 2 Utahraptor. Fairly recent addition. It showed up in the Cretaceous Predators pack, so pretty recently, all things considered. And I can tell you right now that words cannot describe how much I love this thing. To me, it feels like paleo art come to life. The fact that it's this feathered, and the feathers seem to be of the correct placement, like those feathers on the arm actually cover the hand, like mostly cover the hand and everything, and the tail fan looks really good, and they're kind of downy on the animal's body, and you know that kind of like crown that it has on its head. Everything about it just looks absolutely amazing to me. I think Frontier really killed this design, and the colors. Don't even get me started about the colors. I randomized the colors and patterns with this batch. It's a batch of 4, of course, and there's not a single one in this batch that I dislike. I think that they all look really, really good. Like, the colors are just phenomenal, and the way that they kind of blend together, it's all so seamless. And look at this animation. Look at that. I certainly do have a lot to say about this one, but I just think I just think that they really killed it. So I think that it does deserve a lot of credit in that department. I mean, I think that a lot of creatures on this list already did get a lot of credit, but yeah, no, these are probably one of my favorites. I absolutely love placing them at my parks. In Ark Survival Evolved, I'm not too sure if this is actually Utahraptor, but figured I'd include it. It's just called Raptor, but it looks like this. It's really just completely naked, just with some sparse feathers placed on it. Again, it does that whole thing where you just have feathers on the forearm, and then they stop right before the hand. In reality, their hands would have been basically completely covered with feathers. You wouldn't really have been able to see their hands, which I think looks so cool. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. And we have an epic return of that kind of crown on the top of their heads. You know, you just have feathers just on the head. I don't know. So again, I don't know if that's technically Utahraptor, but I figured I'd include it since it's just called Raptor. And I've heard some people call it Utahraptor, so if I'm wrong, it's not my fault. Turok looks extremely stylized and looks really gnarly and terrifying. I like it in that type of stylized way. I really like how much they emphasize that toe claw. Look how huge that looks in comparison to the rest of the animal's foot. I don't know, that's kind of cool. It also has some spikes or quills are essentially going down its back, and it's, again, returned to that crown on its head. It looks like they come in different colors too, which is very, very cool. Yeah, I like these guys. Now, Carnivore's Dinosaur Hunter has this awesome looking fella. Really digging the colors. They kind of they remind me of the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptors, which I am a huge fan of the way that those raptors look in terms of their colors. It is stylized, of course, and it does have a little bit of a retro edge to it, which I think is cool. What's interesting is that it has this type of small amount of feathering just positioned right behind the skull. And the rest of it does not possess that. So it's like a little bit of like a mane or something. In universe, you could probably say that that's a little bit of what's the word? Like a display structure for this Utahraptor or something like that. I don't know if there's any lore associated with that. I should probably look into that, but such an interesting looking alien you are. Such an interesting looking alien. But no, the colors are really cool. I also like how massive this guy is. and still very, very high quality. I think it fits the carnivore style pretty decently. I mean, it's a little bit more modern compared to the rest of them, but yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's got the massive claw, like it should. Very dangerous you are. Very dangerous indeed. In Dino Crisis, we have this fella right here that is completely naked. I think it looks pretty cool, though. I really like the quality of the model, the little game model. And yeah, I can't really say too much unique things about it. The toe claw is absolutely massive, just like the one in Turok. So that's pretty cool. In Zoo Tycoon, I love the looks of this fella. It looks like there is also some sexual dimorphism present because you have the males that have this, again, huge crown on its head, while the females don't have that. So I think that's cool. Adds a little bit of depth to your animals, and they have these nice green coloration with the yellow and the red on that feathered crest. And they are also massive. It was mentioned that they're basically as big as the T-Rex in this game. Utahraptor was big, but not that big. It's estimated that Utahraptor had a weight of around 1,000 pounds, which that is absolutely huge. Of course, there is a possible contender for that, but it's not a dromaeosaur that's officially been named. It does have this nickname right here that I forgot, so now we have text on the screen. That could possibly be heavier than Utahraptor, which then makes it bigger than Utahraptor. It's estimated that that guy was like just over a ton, which is huge. That's big. Of course, take that with a grain of salt because we still do need more information about it, but it's possible that that guy will dethrone Utahraptor. Just right now, Utahraptor's the largest. But again, it's not T-Rex size. T-Rex was a lot bigger than Utahraptor. But in terms of dromaeosaurs, the fact that Utahraptor would be looking most of us in the eye is terrifying. Because actually, fun fact, Utahraptors were bigger than Jurassic Park velociraptors. That's one of those instances where reality is more terrifying than fiction. So, a little food for thought. We have these pretty old images from Prehistoric Kingdom. If Utahraptor ever does get added to Prehistoric Kingdom, it will probably look different from this. That has been happening quite a bit, I've noticed, where like old ones that they announced look quite a bit different when it finally gets added. So, you know, this might not be what it looks like if it eventually gets added. But it does look fantastic. Look how its face is covered right here with feathers. That's what I was talking about right there. It would end like right before the snout began. The colors on these guys look really cool, and if they do go with a design that's more in keeping with this, I think it would look great in the game. I hope it gets added to the game. That'd be really fun to have. That's another great one on the list. Next on our list is the Isle. And hold on, before you finish typing that comment, I know that at least in Avrima, this is no longer a Utahraptor. It's being known as Omniraptor, which is a fictional dromaeosaur for the Isle universe. However, in Legacy, it is still named as Utahraptor. So I'm just kind of looking at the the Legacy one. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, very much inspired from Jurassic Park, I'd say. And that's not necessarily just because it's not feathered, but it just seems like the whole skeletal structure is similar to that. And as I've mentioned before, the Utahraptor was not the basis for the Jurassic Park Velociraptor. So that's not really a coincidence. I think that there was some inspiration taken from Jurassic Park here, which is cool, which is fine. And I still do think that it's really good. The animations, I think, are really nice and fluid. The way that it runs around, it's biting animations and everything. And how high you can jump and all that good stuff. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, seen a lot of that recently. And it's just very high quality. I do like how it's holding its hands the correct way, It looks really cool. Although what's weird is that it kind of looks like it's holding them like it has feathers on its arms, even though it doesn't. Very interesting. I'm not the biggest, as I've probably mentioned before, I'm not really a big fan of seeing featherless raptors, but again, I do think that there is a lot of good in this type of design. So I won't be looking at the one in Avrima because again, I do think that one is just reclassified as a fictional raptor essentially, but this one is still named Utahraptor, so it's right here. Oh, so you can even hear a little bit of the Jurassic Park. Like the Jurassic Park, I don't know what I'm saying, the Jurassic Park barking noise, like the pool, Yeah, you can hear a lot of the Jurassic Park. Yeah, I hear a lot of Jurassic Park in that. Wow, I never noticed that before. That's That's kind of interesting. It kind of feels like a nice little homage to the Jurassic Park Raptors. Really cool patterns too. You can give it some really cool patterns with some cool colors. Again, very high quality, I think. In Path of Titans, the Utahraptor is available via a mod. Of course, I already talked about this guy quite a bit in its own dedicated video. This was done by Primordial Tyrants, of course, and pretty much everything I said in that video applies here. They did an absolutely amazing job. Of course, this was a rework. They already had a Utahraptor mod, and they completely updated it, and they just made it look absolutely amazing. The skin, the variant that I really like to have is the one that really gives it a lot of feathers around the neck. I also like giving it some blue on the snout. And they just did a really good job at making it incredibly robust and bulky, and just, of course, the sounds are also just awesome. So yeah, I still don't have any complaints with it. You know, I think they did a solid job with it. And then finally, we have Paleopines right here. Love the way that this guy looks. Incredibly stylized for the game, which makes sense. But it does capture the whole idea of Utahraptor very well. You have the full feathers, you have the huge build, and the whole Dromaeosaur look to it. I also really love these feathers, like right behind its eyes that kind of just poke up, making what almost look like little ears, kind of like a horned owl or something like that. That's cool. I love that. Love little design choices like that. So that right there pretty much wraps up our list. This was our first Dromaeosaur. Very exciting to finally tackle something like that. Utahraptor is an incredibly awesome dinosaur. Again, this was just a very fun list to get into. I also want to add, thank you guys so much for the support that this series has been getting. It's been going on for quite a bit now. I think we've been doing it for over 30 weeks now with like an episode a week type thing. And it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun just diving into the different media depictions of these animals and seeing how, you know, designs vary and stuff like that, and just tackling even some obscure creatures. That's one of the reasons why I've been really liking doing this series, because it's not necessarily just limited to the popular dinosaurs. I also want to include some obscure ones like, you know, Alamosaurus and stuff like that. So, you know, I hope that we get to continue this series for a decent amount of time afterwards, because there's just a lot more prehistoric creatures that do deserve getting covered, even if there is only like one or two depiction of them. I gotta put in my disclosure too, or my disclaimer rather. There is a good chance that there weren't some Utahraptor designs that showed up in this, and there's a multitude of different reasons as to why that is. It's not done out of like foul intent or anything like that. It's just there's multitude of different reasons. Either I just missed one, like there's one I don't have any knowledge about, or there's some that I don't really have anything too interesting to say about, or I wasn't able to find any ample reference images for them. So if there are some that weren't included in this list, be sure to let everybody know about them in the comments below. And a quick little update right here too. We are trying to hit 20,000 subscribers onto this channel. That would be a huge milestone for me. It would be absolutely awesome to reach something like that. Of course, with that, similar to 10,000 subscribers and the T-Rex video, I want to do another special. The two most requested dinosaurs have by far been Triceratops and Velociraptor. And once we get close to that milestone, I'm going to put up a poll for you guys to vote for which one you'd like to see. Either, again, Velociraptor or Triceratops. Both of which will be absolutely awesome and huge videos. There's a lot of media depictions of those guys, similar to how there was to T-Rex. So maybe it's a part 2 video, maybe it's not. We'll have to see when we get to that point, because of course we're not there right now. So I'm not going to put the cart before the horse, of course. But again, thank you guys so much for the support that you've been showing this series. And if you watched all the way up until this point, comment your favorite dinosaur, and I will heart react to it. You know, everybody has a favorite dinosaur, so let's hear it if you made it to the end of this video. If you did, appreciate that. Anyway, that is pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.